This has become an ongoing issue, and I want to know if I'm in the wrong here. For backstory, I am a 46-year-old man who married Alex, a 42-year-old woman, when we were both in our 20s. We were together for 12 years and had our 2 daughters, Hannah, a 16-year-old, and Harper, a 14-year-old. Alex came out to me as bisexual a few years into our marriage. She also struggled with severe postpartum depression after the girls were born that never seemed to go away, even after they were well past the toddler years. When Harper was 4, Alex told me she'd been struggling with her sexuality for a long time, and she now understood she was a homosexual and that we should separate for both our mental health and the sake of our girls. It was a hard adjustment, but after a lot of therapy and talking at length to her and with friends, I accepted that she had truly spent a long time repressing this aspect of herself due to her religious upbringing, and that her depression had a lot to do with hiding herself. She also said some truly touching things about how she was confused for a long time because she thought of me as a perfect husband, and that her inability to love me the way a wife should made her feel like it was her own personal failing that she could overcome. Alex has since gotten remarried, and her wife, Meg, is a solid gal and clearly makes Alex very happy. It's taken a lot of work, but at this point, things are great between the 3 of us, and we're all very invested in making sure the girls always have a healthy family environment between our 2 homes. The other relevant thing about Alex here is that we are very similar people who have always had a great friendship dynamic. We're both formally trained in the fine arts, work in creative fields, and are into lots of interesting artistic and creative hobbies that we'd explore and work on together and separately. So even after we divorced, we have kept in more frequent touch than most co-parents I've met who can't stand each other. Part of it is because the marriage really ended over something neither of us could change, with no cheating or bad blood. And part of the reason is that we are genuinely friends with common interests. For example, our girls are involved in community theater, and the other week, they had some friends over to Alex's home to work on some set and prop painting, and I went over to help out with some of the more complicated construction work. Or if one of us is working on a project and needs tips or to borrow a piece of equipment the other person has, it's no big deal. Nothing outside the norm of what I do with any of my other friends. She and Meg spent a couple of years fixing up their property and renovating the guest house into a studio so she had a dedicated space to work. So between the 2 of us, we've always got some project we're working on, whether it's furniture, metalwork, sculpture, or whatnot. My issue currently has arisen since I started dating Lisa, a 35-year-old woman, about a year ago. Lisa has had issues with my level of contact with Alex from the very beginning and seems unwilling to accept that our relationship is strictly platonic and a very deep and sincere, respectful friendship and co-parentship. She is chilly to Alex when they've been forced to interact and disapproves of us having any kind of contact that isn't solely about the girls. Alex, Meg, and I have a shared calendar app with all of our schedules synced so that we always know what kind of events, school projects, practices, games, etc. the girls have coming up, and so that nobody's plans get forgotten. And Lisa told me a few months ago that she needed me to respect her boundary by adding her to the shared calendar. She has zero responsibility for the girls, so I truly saw no need, but this is the kind of thing she couldn't handle not having access to. Then a few weeks later, Alex dropped by to return a soldering iron she borrowed, and Lisa was home, but I wasn't. According to Alex, Lisa told her to never come by my home without contacting her first. Lisa says she established another boundary, but I think it's a ridiculous demand on the mother of my children who may have any number of reasons for dropping by unannounced to Lisa. I don't think it's fair to any of us that she should have to clear it with Lisa before dropping by to hand over something one of the kids leaves at her house, for instance. She also took a lawn statue that Alex and Harper made for me for Father's Day to the city dump without my knowledge or permission. Harper was particularly upset about this, and I just about hit the ceiling when I found out. Lisa didn't know that Harper had a hand in making it, but she called it a piece of trash and generally dislikes the artistic, bohemian crafts and projects the girls tend to bring with them over from their mom's house. She also recently insulted a necklace Harper and I were making together. She's gotten into metalsmithing because she thought it was Alex's work, which didn't help. Lisa clearly feels some degree of jealousy and uncertainty when Alex is around. I have told her every time this comes up that Alex is not, under any circumstances, a threat to our relationship, as she is gay and very evidently happily married. The difference between the depressed, repressed, brittle woman I was married to and the vibrant, easygoing person she's become since we separated speaks for itself. I have no intention or desire to ever rekindle our relationship, and the last woman I seriously dated understood and accepted this. Now for an update. Lisa now wants me to essentially reduce our communication to the absolute bare minimum and never speak to Alex or Meg about anything other than our daughters. She has requested that I move all my communications with Alex to a group text, including herself and Meg, to keep the conversations minimal and restricted only to logistical talk about the girls, and that any attempt to subvert these restrictions will be received by her as inappropriate communication with dishonest intentions. Once the girls turn 18, she says there should be no reason for me to have any kind of contact with Alex. She again couches this in her boundaries, which drives me nuts. The relationship is quite good otherwise, and it's just this one issue that makes her go insane. But I don't think it's going to be tolerable or sustainable long term. For what it's worth, the girls don't like Lisa at all and say she basically ignores them completely when I'm not around. Lisa says they give her an attitude and clearly don't want her in their lives. I don't know how much of each side is the objective truth, but I will make a note that Meg and the girls get along great, and they call her their bonus mom. They had no problems with my last serious girlfriend either. Lisa and the girls don't have much in common with interests either, and I think they make each other feel insecure in different ways. I've been weighing breaking up with Lisa over this, but it really is just the one issue weighed against the rest of a happy relationship. But I really dislike constantly having to defend myself and my relationship with my kid's mom and my friends against her paranoia that I'm somehow going to cheat on her with a happily married homosexual woman. I also don't want this to affect my relationship with our kids, or frankly, with one of my best friends. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So this is an hurtful relationship. You might not feel abused, but you are. She is controlling things with Alex now, but next it will be your daughters. She will want you to put distance between yourself and them the older they get. She will want to police every interaction with you and them until they get so sick of it they won't see you anymore. Lisa is a real menace, and you need to get that woman out of your house and out of your life. Your relationship with your ex-wife, her wife, and your daughters is amazing. Do not let anyone ruin that for you. There's a woman out there who will be fine with your dynamic and won't take away anything but only add more joy. Lisa is not it. Protect yourself, your daughters, and your ex. Lisa has got to go. Like now, not tomorrow or the day after. Right now. Comment 2. I'm sorry. She took that art project to the dump without telling you? Holy cow. Even if she is actually telling the truth that she didn't know your daughter made it too, that is outrageous. Incredibly disrespectful. I guarantee you, that woman has something she owns from a past relationship. And if you took it to the dump without telling her, she would lose her mind. She has absolutely no respect for your relationship with your children. Your relationship with your ex-wife is quite literally the goal that every co-parent should want to reach. A healthy friendship between parents, even after divorce, is so beneficial for your girls. It's unbelievable that your girlfriend can't respect that. I guarantee you, your children are going to start resenting you if you stay with this woman, and for good reason. Now, for the update. 2 days after I posted, Lisa texted me about dinner plans for the upcoming weekend. I suggested a family dinner at my place and invited Alex and Meg along. Lisa responded all cold and stuff, reminding me she wasn't comfortable with Alex being around. I insisted that Alex is part of our daughters' lives and should be included. After a bit of back and forth, she reluctantly agreed, but asked for a separate conversation about boundaries before dinner. Like, seriously, why does she need to have a separate conversation about boundaries all the time? It's not like I make her talk to her ex about stuff like this. Anyway, I spent some quality time with my daughters after that, talking about their upcoming school play and rehearsals. They seem really excited, which is awesome. But I noticed Harper seemed quiet and withdrawn, unlike her usual self. I decided to ask her what was bothering her, but she brushed it off, saying she was just tired. As dinner day approached, I could feel some distance growing between Lisa and me. She just seemed off, and we weren't really talking much. On the day of the dinner, I made a homemade lasagna and set the table nicely. Alex and Meg arrived with a salad and dessert, and it was all cordial at first. We were laughing about the girls' antics during rehearsals, and it felt kinda nice. But Lisa was acting all distracted, constantly checking her phone, not really engaging in the conversation. Halfway through dinner, she suddenly brings up the topic of boundaries. Like, really? She accuses Alex of overstepping by being involved in our family activities. I had to say that Alex is our daughter's mother and deserves to be included. Then Lisa raises her voice, insisting that Alex should just be a weekend mom. Alex looked taken aback, and the girls shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I tried to change the topic to the girls' upcoming talent show, but Lisa interrupted, saying she can't support the girls if Alex is always around. I firmly stood my ground, stating that Alex will always be part of our family. Things escalated so much that Lisa stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. I felt so bad, apologizing to Alex and Meg for the outburst and concerned about the girls' feelings. Later that night, Lisa sent me a message demanding that I choose between her and Alex. She was so angry, threatening to end our relationship if things don't change. A few days passed, and I got a call from Alex about the upcoming school play. She mentioned that she had talked to Meg about stepping back to ease the tension. I really appreciated Alex's willingness to compromise for the girls. I decided to have a candid conversation with Lisa to set clear expectations moving forward. The following weekend, I invited Lisa over to talk about everything face to face. During the talk, Lisa agreed to attend the school play but wanted a separate family dinner with just the girls. I reminded her that the girls' well-being is the priority, and I won't budge on that. She reluctantly agreed to work on being more accepting of the situation. To answer a few questions, Lisa and I have talked about the situation multiple times. This was the first time she demanded I choose between her and Alex. The call from Alex was unexpected but appreciated. Am I the idiot for wanting to marry my partner but refusing to let him impregnate another woman? I'm 29 years old and my partner is 28 years old. We are planning to get married early next year. We both want kids. It's very important for him and his mom for him to have a biological child to carry his last name, etc. I've been working with doctors and tracking everything, but after at least 2 years of trying, it doesn't seem like it will occur naturally. I've kind of come to terms with the possibility that I can't have kids or that I could adopt. I've been navigating our options, whether it's him leaving so he can have that family, egg freezing, intrauterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, adoption, etc. But seeing those methods can be costly. He suggests that he get someone else pregnant, so at least the child will be his and it would save money. This breaks my heart, as I want nothing more than to carry our child, experience everything together, and he would essentially be doing that with another person even though he would still be in a relationship with me. He doesn't want to break up, and he does want to marry me. He has considered us just being childless or adopting, but it all comes down to having a biological heir, and I know that's something he truly wants. Yet, when I talk about how him having a baby with someone else would make me feel, he says I'm not thinking about him, what he wants, or how he sees it. But he doesn't understand how I could possibly not feel included, engaged, or attached to the child, and just expects me to raise the kid as my own or co-parent without those feelings that I wasn't good enough or capable of caring for him or giving him what he wanted. It's hard to think that we should even get married when we're not on the same page. I would spend whatever it costs to be able to carry or have my own child, whether my egg is in another or through several rounds of fertility treatments, but he doesn't think it's worth it when he could find someone to get pregnant cheaply, give him a child, and bring them into our relationship. I don't know what to do to mitigate the relationship, to make sure we see it from both sides, and come to some kind of resolution before we get married. To add, he has property to pass down in another country, and his culture is big on family. Sadly, even his mother has joked about him getting someone else pregnant just to have grandchildren. Almost forgot. I've been urging him to go to appointments with me and get his sperm tested, but he ignorantly believes that since he has gotten women pregnant before we met, that it's not an issue for him. Now for an update. I have unexplained infertility due to the amount of time we have been trying. My cycles are short. Possibly I am not ovulating, and I have other reproductive or cervical issues, but my hysterosalpingography showed no blockage. I just gave up for a little while, but I have been feeling determined to figure out the true source of the issue. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm so confused by his logic. Is he planning to go hook up with another woman, get her pregnant, and just take the baby? What about the other woman? Doesn't she have a right to her own biological child? So, you would not only be raising his affair child, but co-parenting with the biological mother? He thinks this would be less complicated than in vitro fertilization? Is he stupid? Comment 2. He has gotten women pregnant before we met. What? He sounds like a catch. Are you sure that's true? He should have his sperm tested anyway. I'm wondering if that's a false pack of tales to avoid getting checked, because he doesn't want to believe he is the issue. He doesn't sound very nice. Now for the update. Here's the update. So a few days after my last update, my ex and I went to a family gathering for his birthday. I thought it would just be a chill family get-together, but nope. The family was all about the grandkids, especially his mom. She was super excited and kept bringing it up like a million times. I felt the pressure too. It was like, can you all just drop it? I get that you're excited, Maltha, but we're not even sure if that's going to happen. I felt so bad when everyone was asking us when we were having kids. I tried to smile and joke it off, but inside, I was freaking out. I even heard his mom talking to my ex's brother about when he was going to settle down and have kids. I wanted to shout, can you ask him too? Like, my ex is right here, and he hasn't even proposed to me yet. So during the cake cutting, my ex tried to lighten the mood, I guess. He jokingly suggested that maybe we should just find someone to carry the baby. I laughed it off, but inside I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I was so uncomfortable, but I just smiled and went along with it. After the party, we got into it. I was like, dude, what was that all about? And he was all, it was just a joke. I'm just trying to have fun. Why are you so uptight? I was so mad. It's not funny to joke about something so serious. I get that he wants kids, but come on. A week later, we went to another family dinner, this time with his sister and her husband. They just bought a house together, so we were all excited to see it. I thought the night would be fun, but no. His sister announced that she was pregnant, and the family lost their minds. Everyone was so happy for her, and I was just sitting there like a sad puppy. His mom turned to me and asked when I was going to join the family and have kids. I just smiled and said, I don't know, we'll see. I wanted to scream. I was so mad at my ex at that moment. Later, I overheard my ex talking to his brother about being a dad. He was still considering the whole find someone else to have a baby thing. I was so hurt. I couldn't believe he was still thinking about this. I went into the other room and gave him the silent treatment. When we got in the car, he was like, why are you acting like this? I said, because I heard you talking about this stuff. And he was like, you're overreacting. I just want to have a family. He then suggested we look into cheaper alternatives for our family planning. I was like, what does that even mean? You want to just buy a kid off someone? Then things got even worse at the dinner table when his mom was like, I can help find a surrogate for you. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom because I was so overwhelmed. I just couldn't deal with it. While I was in there, I got a message from a friend asking if I was okay. I told her I was at a family dinner and things were getting out of hand. I just wanted to go home and hide under the covers. After dinner, my ex was all happy and carefree, and I was just sitting there like a zombie. He suggested we take a weekend trip to relax and forget about everything, and I was like, sure, whatever. So we went on this trip, and it was fine, I guess. But then his mom called and mentioned a friend who could help find a surrogate. I was so mad. I overheard my ex agreeing to talk to her about it, and I felt trapped. When we got home, my ex was all excited about meeting this friend. He was like, we should really talk to her and see what our options are. I was like, are you serious right now? We had a huge fight that night. I was like, how can you even think about this? And he was like, I just want to be a dad, and you're not able to give that to me. A few days later, I went to see my doctor to talk about IVF again. I knew it was going to be expensive, but I had to know what my options were. She gave me a whole timeline for starting treatment and emphasized how urgent it was. When I got home, I told my ex about it. I said we should start soon if we really wanted to have kids together. And he was like, I might be busy with work during that time. I can't commit to being present. I just lost it. I was like, are you kidding me right now? We need to do this together. This is our kid. And he was like, I'm just being realistic. I was just so done. I didn't even know what to do anymore. I told him I needed a break from all of this. I needed to think. So yeah, that's where we're at. Mini update. My friend has been super supportive during this time, and I really needed someone to talk to. She even suggested going on a trip together to clear my head. I'm just grateful to have her in my life. I really missed having someone like her around, especially during all this chaos. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay my husband's bills after he blew his savings on useless junk? Hello, I need a little bit of advice on how to handle a situation that has come about at home. My husband, who is 40 years old, and I, who am 32 years old, have been together for 5 years, married for less than a year. When we got together, I lived about 400 miles away in the same state, since he had his house paid off, and I recently sold my home in preparation for a new job. I was renting an apartment for the time being. After about a year of dating, the decision was that I would move to his home to save money and eventually move back to where I lived if I didn't enjoy the area. Everything seemed to go well, except after about a month of living there, he decided I would have to pay the electric bill. I was, of course, fine with this, except it left him with only paying around $75 a month in bills and me upwards of $500, considering how big the house is and what temperature he likes the house. I pushed through and have been paying it. Now, we are in the same career field. I ended up working alongside him, except on different shifts. Since we are making the same amount of money and we don't share our finances, I have my bills and he has his. Great, I'm good with this. The goal of my move was to save money. I had a good nest egg saved, around $15,000 when I moved. The prospect of having around $50,000 when I moved back was exciting, except until it wasn't. He had about $25,000 saved when I moved in, and our end goal was a down payment on a house. Fast forward to the past year, he has dwindled his savings to about $7,000 by buying things we didn't need, putting things on credit to save money, and now he says we can't leave by the date we thought because he couldn't afford to live in a rental. Here is where the problem lies with me. We both applied earlier this year for jobs. I got mine, and my start date is approaching quickly, September 30th, and he has a start date of sometime in December. He stated he couldn't afford to pay rent and bills at both places because of his pay now. However, the pay increase is minimal, like $7,000 more a year at the new job, but he doesn't have bills. His mother bought his truck in cash, a 2024 Nissan Frontier, and he doesn't have vehicle payments. I have a new car I pay for, along with my own personal bills. He doesn't want to help pay rent since he won't be living there anyway for a few months. I will be making enough money to survive and have a little left over to save. Since he decided to spend nearly every penny of his savings, we would obviously be renting until he could get that back up. I saw red, mostly because he used to pay his ex's rent, bills, and car payments while he lived in a completely different state where he had his own rent and bills. Am I overreacting? I feel dejected and fooled by this man who I thought cared about me and wanted to continue our plan to move forward like we had since the beginning of our relationship. He told me that I see things in black and white, and he is a realist. He was rude to me this morning about me being stressed and decided to tell me my feelings are wrong and I have no reason to act this way. It's what married couples do. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I will never understand married or long-term couples who don't share finances. You're a unit in every other sense, so the majority of your money should be our money. Accounts should be divided into his, hers, and ours, or whatever pronouns suit your situation. Otherwise, you end up with a giant financial mess when something disrupts your pattern. Case in point, it's clear you're not his priority. And you both need to work on communication. How did he spend the majority of his savings without you knowing? Couples counseling or divorce. Comment 2. I'm not sure why you would continue being with someone who makes such bad financial decisions and doesn't see you as a partner. Married couples support each other and want what's best for each other. Your husband only cares about himself. Now for the update. It's been a week since the last fight over money and living arrangements. Things have been really quiet between us. Like, not in a good way. My husband has been super distant, staying out late a lot, with no real explanation. I mean, he used to tell me if he was going out with friends, but now it's like pulling teeth to get any info out of him. The other night, he texted me at 11 p.m. saying he was out with friends. I was already in bed and half asleep, but that text woke me right up. I was just like, okay, have fun, and went back to sleep. I figured I'd just talk to him about it when he got home, but he came home all quiet and didn't mention it at all. So, I went through some of our old bills the next day to see if there was anything I could learn. Honestly, I was just trying to find something to talk to him about that wasn't going to lead to another argument. I noticed some discrepancies in our shared expenses and found some receipts that shocked me. Like, he bought a new gaming console just because he wanted it, not because our old one was broken. And some of the takeout bills were insane, like $150 for dinner for one. I mean, come on. At work, I overheard a coworker mention going out with my husband last weekend. So, I asked him about it when he got home, and it led to another fight. He acted like I was being nosy and controlling for wanting to know where he was. I decided to just confront him about the receipts I found. So, at dinner, I asked him about the spending and if we could talk about our budget. He got all defensive, saying he worked hard for his money and deserved to enjoy it. I suggested we create a joint budget to manage our finances better, but he just rolled his eyes and changed the subject. The next day, I found out he had a surprise party planned for my birthday. I was actually really happy about it. He invited my family, and they were all genuinely excited to see me. During the party, my sister casually mentioned how much she admired our home. She didn't mean anything by it, but after the party, my mom asked if everything was okay between us. My husband overheard her asking and later accused me of making him look bad in front of my family. We had a heated argument in the kitchen, and he accused me of not trusting him. He also said I was being overly focused on money. A few days later, he left for a work trip. I decided to take a weekend trip to my parents' house because I just needed to get away from it all. When I got home, I saw a message from him saying he wanted to talk. We met at our favorite restaurant, and it was like we were both trying to be normal. He opened up about feeling pressured about finances and our future. We agreed to talk about our budget again, but with a clearer understanding of each other's feelings. As we were leaving the restaurant, my phone buzzed with a message from my coworker. She mentioned seeing my husband out with a group of friends again, and I asked her who else was there. Her reply raised some red flags. She said there was an unnamed woman in the group, and I just felt like my stomach dropped. My husband noticed the change in my expression and asked what was wrong. I just kept quiet, thinking I needed more info before confronting him again. Since then, things have been off between us. We're not fighting as much, but there's this awkwardness that's hard to ignore. The lack of intimacy has been bothering me too. Our unresolved financial issues are starting to feel like a bigger problem. It's like they overshadow everything else in our relationship. Edit. I talked to my coworker more about the message she sent. She confirmed that my husband was out with a woman. She described her and I recognized her as someone my husband used to work with. I reached out to her and asked if they had been hanging out a lot. She told me they were just friends and that he had mentioned we were having problems. She said they went on a few group outings together, but that was it. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.